62 cars, 2.4 hours of driving. This was the 2.4 hours of Spa on Le Mans Ultimate. And this race highlights how good Le Mans Ultimate is and why I think this simulator is going to explode. Of course, we live streamed this race, which you would have known if you were a subscriber that had unsubscribed and resubscribed. So do that so you don't miss the next one of these that we do. And if you're watching this video, you might as well click the like button. But what I'm going to do here is take you through the exciting moments of this race and what you missed out on, because really it was quite good. Now, we qualified 41st in this race, and what preceded was some of the most ridiculous and entertaining racing that I've ever had in a GT3 car and even an online racing simulator. With it being a 2.4 hour race, obviously everybody takes the first few corners very carefully and safely, because you wouldn't want to throw away your entire race in the first few corners when you've got 2.4 hours to actually... Oh no, there you go. Everybody wrecking on Eau Rouge. Cars everywhere, wings everywhere, tyre in your face. Absolutely superb. And in that moment, 20 cars were eradicated from the race. But we found a way through and it was all good. With longer races like this, the key is to really avoid all the rubbish at the start of the race, get yourself into position and then get yourself into a nice rhythm. Granted, I wasn't expecting to overtake 15 cars in one corner, but I will take it. Now, what's awesome with this as well is that we are using the Coach Dave Academy default setup with this for this race, and it's not a fixed setup race. You can tweak things, but the setup that's included is perfectly fine, totally competitive, at least in split 2 and 3, probably not in the top split, but totally does the job. So you can just jump in and get straight into a 2 and a bit hour race bonanza. Now, obviously I hadn't done any practice because that would have been a sensible thing to do, and what we immediately found with the Ferrari was, as you can see there on that corner, the back is very prone to stepping out. So that's another aspect of this with the cold tyres at the start of a race like this, is taking it a bit easy, finding out where the limit is, having to catch it a bit. Fortunately, Le Mans Ultimate is sim-K'd unlike iRacing, so if the back steps out you just counter steer it and drive it off. But you know, finding out what you can and can't do, what you can get away with, and then finding yourself in the rhythm, though being extra cautious on the cold tyres. We have another victim there in 1, 2, 3 cars. 4 cars. There's a trail of smoke, and I think we just back off here to let him in there. Again, at the start of the race, there's no need to be going crazy. I'm not really sure why a lot of people struggle with this. I've noticed this when we do longer races. There's a lot of people that just don't have the patience and seemingly don't realise how long 2 hours is. One spin, for example, is probably going to cost you 30 seconds, a minute, and it's certainly going to cost you RSI in your wrists with this simulator due to the flat spotting, so it might even cost you a pit stop. But let's say it's just 30 seconds, one spin, 30 seconds. Well, that's a lot of time to have to get back. So you're way better off just dialing it down a bit and getting yourself in there without doing anything crazy, even if it requires you to just lift off and let another car go through, or to like be stuck behind another vehicle. Obviously it depends where you're at. If you've qualified in the top 5, you might have to just push and drive like a maniac from the get-go. But you know, if you're behind the top 10 and further back, you're really better off just playing the more drawn out strategy and focusing on consistency. If the race is over an hour and over 2 hours, that consistency becomes a much bigger factor and a really interesting dynamic. In fairness, I think a lot of people aren't used to doing generally longer races. Really, most sims haven't supported it very well, only maybe iRacing. And in terms of popular stuff on iRacing, sure, you have those big events which are fantastic, like the Nürburgring 24 hours, they do a Spa 24 hours, a Daytona, what have you. They're great, but most of the racing is sort of maybe IMSA is like an hour and a bit, I think. So a lot of people just aren't used to this sort of 2 hour plus race, but it does really require you to approach things in more of a consistency focused approach, which I think is really ideal for GT3 cars. This length of race absolutely makes GT3 cars make sense. GT3 cars are not really ideal for sprint racing. They're much better for how you can handle a car over a long period of time, be consistent over a longer period of time, not put wear on it, not wear the tyres out, bit of strategy, and also still overtaking and racing people. We basically let that Porsche go through there. They were going to rear end us, so we just pulled to the left and came off the brake. We will see more of them later on. But there, again, that's a good example. There's no point fighting it too hard at this point in time. Could have been a bit more aggressive, but if I'd have held my line there, we would have had a hole in our arse, which again would have cost us a lot more than one place and a few seconds that we can probably make up with. So those first few laps, a beautiful spectacle. Fortunate that LMU doesn't simulate tyres going through windscreens, or unfortunate because it would have been hilarious driving the rest of the race with a tyre in the windscreen. But yeah, there we go. That's the opening laps. We're going to skip forwards a bit here as we get into the rhythm of the race. So this was interesting. There's a bit of issues up front. Car slowed down. Car in front of us goes wide, gets a slow down penalty, and then gets back on the throttle. I don't know what he's doing. I'm trying to be safe, but we get a nice move up the inside here, and we get that position. That was a position from someone that we'd let in front of us before. So within a few corners or a lap, we've taken the place back. So that's the thing. You've just got to be patient. And then I make a mistake and he almost takes it back off us there. That corner was chewing us out all bloody race. So an awesome thing with how this is set up, they're using 10 times time acceleration for the day-night. So even though it's a 2.4 hour race, you're basically doing a 24-hour race. And this was something we were doing in Project Cars 2 back in the day, and Automobilista 2, and even with some of our Assetto Corsa servers. But it's such a good format. You've got a nice realistic simulator, but you don't have to do the day-night transition realistically. As the car goes up our inside, nice move by him, nice clean overtake with the draft. But having that time acceleration, allowing you to do the day-night transition, and even like accelerated weather, accelerated fuel, I think that's absolutely superb and adds so much to the experience and just makes it more compelling to play while still having a great 2+ hour race. Now we had a huge issue here and we start dropping back a little bit, and this is something to be aware of with Le Mans Ultimate. I have everything on 100% maximum because I'm just using a budget graphics card, a 5090, and so we set everything on maximum. Unfortunately, when it gets dark and you've got the graphics in maximum with 60 visible cars, your frame rate tends to drop and stutter pretty badly. So we now had a good hour of driving with what felt like 12 FPS. It felt like I was watching a stop motion film. In the video, it's recording at 60, so it's actually smoothing out the stutter. So for you guys and everyone watching the live stream, they're like, oh, this is nice. But for me, I felt like someone was jabbing me in the eyes with a felt tip pen. But we need to turn down the number of visible cars and also the headlight settings, and that's something you should be aware of if you do these larger races. And a really good piece of advice I would give you is to test this sort of stuff with AI first, because AI is actually heavier load than people due to the AI using your CPU as well. And that applies for other sims as well. It's a really good tip for iRacing with larger grids. Before you do the races online, especially longer races, 24-hour races, try and test it with AI first, see what your graphics are, or you will suffer like I did. We lost one place, that Lexus I think it was, and then we got another car behind us. But we soldiered on. You can't give up. Reality stuttering isn't enough to stop us. Now, one thing you notice, like rain, for some reason the darkness also causes a lot of people to crash. And always you get in places at night. I think part of it is that the track looks slightly different. people get distracted easier. And also at this point in the race, there's 1 hour 30 left on the clock, but it's been enough time for people to get lulled into a rhythm, and then that rhythm gets broken when they have to overtake someone or someone overtakes them, and it completely discombobulates them. So we'd already gained some places just from crashes that happened at night, which is a welcome present. I appreciate people donating places to me. We certainly need them. And now we have our first pit stop on the way. This is where we realised that our NRG, which is the bopping system, was getting very low. So we had to do a bit of coasting here to make sure that we had enough NRG to not run out. Otherwise we get a huge, huge penalty. But this is all with the default setup, as I say. It's mostly lines up great. We could have just pitted a lap earlier. I wasn't paying enough attention. But we get into the pit stop here. Full fuel tank, but no tyres needed. These medium tyres will last for ages. We just do 1 tyre swap in this race. I think it was 2 pit stops, but a full tank of fuel. Look how full this pit stop is. It's an absolutely cramped pit stop. And in LMU, you actually have car contacts in the pit stop, so you really need to pay attention and be careful of the other vehicles. But it's really nice, actually. I think the pit stop, at first I would have thought car contacts would be a pain in the arse with how people drive and, you know, online stuff. But because the netcode's so good, and because small contacts don't ruin your entire race like they do in some other simulators, it's actually just a nice tense moment. Getting into the pit lane, seeing if people are coming out, getting into your pit spot, timing it just right, not driving into people out of your pit stop. It's a nice, interesting part of the race. And a nice bit of cup of tea sip moment to relax with the engine off. But it's a nice, different dynamic, and then you have the build-up of getting back on the track. Or in this case, at Spa, you have the build-up of driving for 4 decades down the world's longest pit lane. Although it's kind of nice because this pit lane makes it feel like you're playing Euro Truck Sim before you get back to the racetrack. It was a successful pit stop though, 100% NRG recharge. And 22 laps of fuel, full tank of fuel. Fortunately, we haven't flat spotted the tyres. Second pit lane here. Look at those lights. Absolutely gorgeous as we've got another car pulling out in front. And we get back onto the racetrack, having pitted a lap later than other people and also pitting nice and quick. I'm going to jump ahead to later on in the night session now. Not much happened in the night session, but that was good for me. We had some cars chasing us down and we were still suffering our stutter, but the main thing was to get through the stutter of the night and just maintain a reasonable pace. I think we were 2 or so tenths down on our semi-decent pace we were doing before. Cold tyres as well after the pit stop, and the night being colder makes it harder to keep the tyres warm. So we're just being cautious, getting through it and taking advantage of the drivers that weren't being particularly cautious. You can see them all banging and driving into each other behind us, and the sky's starting to slowly change back to glorious daytime. And this is where things started to get spicy with Mr. D. Evans, the rival of this race, as he makes a great move round the outside there, goes a bit out there, then cuts back to the other side, and then cuts back to the inside. I was a bit slow on the TC to get out of the bus stop. I think I pulled over to pick up some pensioners in the process. They'll be happy because I can take them to Lidl's, but it wasn't particularly good of a line through. There's a car behind almost pummels me in the backside, Mr. C. Mogul. D. Evans driving off. We realised that our TC was a bit aggressive for the tight right-hander there, and we were losing this guy. But this was our rival for the race, and this is one of the really nice things with these longer types of races, is that you start to find drivers at a similar pace to you. Sometimes just one, sometimes a couple, and then obviously you've already invested way too much of your time in the race, and so you get really hyper-invested in actually trying to beat these people and battle them. We moved out of the way again there. I think we were going to get another ass pummeling from C. Mogul. He was determined to remove my rear diffuser for some reason. These gits, we're not done with them. But it was nice overtakes by both of them. They got past us without driving into us. And it was nice to have the sort of encouragement. I think in these night sections, it's quite nice to have a bit of pressure. There's sort of ebbs and flows as to when you're getting pace and how much you're pushing. Obviously, a pro driver will just be poning out the perfect laps non-stop, especially with it being only 2 hours of driving. But someone like me, you can get distracted and you can start thinking about when your next cup of tea and your next biscuit is. So it's quite an interesting dynamic. Staying focused for over an hour, basically. And good fun, I'd say. Now the sun had come up more and our frame rate had improved, and this allowed us to get back into the attack mode. And we have C Junior and C Mogul battling away here, allowing us to show Junior some action. As we go to the left, I want to push him over as left as possible and then get up on the inside, break him, and sneak on through. We seem to be pretty fast through these corners, and that was a nice clean pass on him. No indicating needed. I do kind of regret that we were driving the Ferrari here. I think I would have preferred the Porsche because it turns in a bit better for my driving style, but I was quite happy with that overtake, and we had to get it done to stay on the tail of Mr. C Mogul. So we had a bit more calm, and then we had our second pit stop. We had to do a little bit of coasting again because the NRG had got too low. I think we probably could adjust this setup a tiny bit. But we're in second place with 1% fuel. That's because everyone else pitted a lap before us. They knew something that I didn't. But that does mean that we got into the pit with a nice empty pit lane, and the sponsors would have been happy because our car would have been at the top, at least for a little bit. But this is where things got really interesting. When we got out the pits, we knew that we had to beat Mr. D. Evans and C. Mogul if possible. And we could see that they were 12 seconds in front of us and that we had the pace to catch them. 39 minutes on the clock, and this is the sort of thing that you're only going to ever get in longer races. The long time mega push lap after lap of trying to close a gap. There's quite a big gap. So that was our goal, that was our focus, and it was on. It was time to launch the rocket ship and try and take down these guys. Ideally, maybe in 10 minutes or so. 20 plus minutes of heavily focused hot lapping in the context of a race, and we'd finally reeled in D. Evans like a shark on a fishing reel. All that left was for us to try and find a way past him. We knew we had the pace because we'd just been reeling him in for 20 minutes and he hadn't really made any big mistakes. But this again is one of the really fun parts of doing longer races. This sort of thing on its own in a sprint race would just be like, oh wow, you know, it's just a nice little 1v1 race. But when you're doing it in a race that's been going for 2 hours, you're like really committed. You know, you really don't want to make a mistake. You really don't want to have wasted all the time that you put into trying to get closer to them to actually get the overtake. So the stakes have increased. And with this, we really wanted to find a good way past him. We did have a bit of an issue here in that he was moving quite a bit in the braking zones. He had quite a bit of block on him, but in fairness, he probably knew that if we got past him, well, it would all be over. So I don't really hold it against him too much, and sometimes, you know, sometimes you have to be a little bit vague with your defending. And with LMU, you know, you can react to them blocking. A little bit of contact isn't the end of the world. So it's not as stressful or crash resultant as it can be in some other sims. What we kept finding, though, with this guy was he would repeatedly do these sections of the track a lot faster. I think he just had lower TC on and was probably just better on the throttle pedal as well. And that's another aspect of doing races like this. You can really see where your skill issues lie, and you can really see where if you're gaining a lot of time in a car in front, you'll be like, well, I wonder why I'm gaining them on certain parts of the track but losing it on other parts of the track. So you can then understand where you need to focus your skill on, or maybe if you could run lower TC. And then with this, you're sort of questioning yourself, do I lower the TC? because maybe that is costing me it. But then if I lower the TC, will I bungle it by giving it too much throttle and spin myself and lose all the time we gained? We go for a bit of ascent there, but we were too far back to do a committed move. I like to try and open them up on the outside and then go to the inside, but really that was totally pointless. It's kind of a stupid thing to do that. Like, we should have just stayed in behind him and took the racing line and remained close to him, but maybe it can put a bit of fear into them if they think you're going to do some crazy dive bomb and induce a mistake from them. So it's not entirely pointless, but generally, especially in races like this, especially when driving concrete tanks that GT3 cars are, it's actually often better to just really wait, bide your time, and bite and attack when you know that you've actually got a really good attacking opportunity. Interestingly as well with this, not a huge amount of draft from these vehicles. LMU as well tends to not have as much draft as some of the other simulators, so you really do need to be lining things up and also getting really close to then be able to make a move when you get to a braking zone. You can't just coast straight past someone using the draft. No free easy overtakes in this simulator. You have to work for it. And work we did for another 2 laps, just trying to find a good place to overtake. We knew we weren't going to catch up with Mr. Mogul. He was long gone. It was all about D. Evans, and damn it, we were going to overtake him. Fortunately, we had some back markers in front, and we were right on his tail here, and we'd been cooking him. We'd been boiling his kettle. We're lined up, we're ready, and he goes in fractionally deep, has to catch it on the corner that we'd been struggling with, and we managed to mosey on through there. Absolutely perfect. A little bit of snap there from him, and my kettle was boiled, and I was ready to put the hot water into the teacup and dunk some biscuits. Superb. 3 minutes 49 on the clock. D. Evans defeated, but I really enjoyed it. That's the thing, you don't have to be racing a lot of people in a race. Battling, right, basically that was 1 hour of trying to catch up with the vehicle, followed by 15 minutes of trying to get an overtake. Absolutely superb, and quite different to what you're going to get in your normal sprint races. Here we have these back markers, getting out of the way, but absolutely glorious, up to 6th place. Started in 40th, up to 6th place. I thought it was Christmas that had come early. And I have to say, the thing is, when you do longer races, and I found this before when doing 24-hour races and the 6-hour races in iRacing, when you do longer races, there's a specific sort of reward that just comes from finishing it. But even finishing in the top 10, getting to the end, having a bit of strategy, having things come together, you get more of a narrative there, you get more involved in it, and it feels more rewarding when you finish it. That could all just be because it's been far too long since our last cup of tea, and I'm just really excited to get another cup of tea. But absolutely superb. Maybe not the best of races for you guys to watch in a video, but absolutely superb to take part in, and really fun. And this was just something that you can just jump in and do. We did no practice, we didn't think about setup, we just got straight in there, and it was great. And that's the thing with Le Mans Ultimate that I think is the magic of Le Mans Ultimate, and a big problem with a lot of sims. A lot of sims make it such a chore just to get in and race and do the fun part. Le Mans Ultimate is making it super simple to get experiences that previously you would have to be part of a league or paying an absolute fortune or planning a lot to actually be able to do. So there you go. Hopefully you found that enjoyable. It's going to be interesting to see how well this video does. I'm not really sure if this format is suited to my channel and what we normally do. As I say, subscribe, click the like button, and if you got this far in the video, give us a tea bag and a teacup emoji, the double emoji combo, so I know that you got to the end of it, and then we'll know who really was dropped on the head as a baby. But thanks for watching this. Catch you in the next live stream we do, the next video we do. Till the next one, happy tea drinking, take care, and goodbye.